Lost 8 pieces this time. Last time was 11. What I tell you? Better off lose less. I was annoyed, but I couldn't say anything. I attended more tournaments, each one farther away from home. I won all games in all divisions. The Chinese bakery downstairs from our flat displayed my growing collection of trophies in its window, amidst the dust-covered cakes that were never picked up. The day after I won an important regional tournament, the window encased a fresh sheet cake with whipped cream frosting and red script saying, "Congratulations, Waverly Zhang, Chinatown chess champion." Soon after that, a flower shop, headstone engraver, and funeral parlor offered to sponsor me in national tournaments. That's when my mother decided I no longer had to do the dishes. Winston and Vincent had to do my chores. "Why does she get to play and we all do all the work?" complained Vincent. "Is new American rules," said my mother. Mamie play, squeeze all her brains out for win chess. You play, worth squeeze towel. By my ninth birthday, I was a national chess champion. I was still some 429 points away from grandmaster status, but I was touted as the great American hope, a child prodigy, and a girl. They ran a photo of me in Life magazine next to a quote in which Bobby Fischer said, "There will never be a woman grandmaster." "Your move, Bobby," said the caption. The day they took the magazine picture, I wore neatly plaited braids clipped with plastic barrettes trimmed with rhinestones. I was playing in a large high school auditorium that echoed with phlegmy coughs and the squeaky rubber knobs of chair legs sliding across freshly waxed wooden floors. Seated across from me was an American man, about the same age as Lao Po, maybe 50. I remember that his sweaty brow seemed to weep at my every move. He wore a dark Maladora suit. One of his pockets was stuffed with a great white kerchief on which he wiped his palm before sweeping his hand over the chosen chess piece with great flourish. In my crisp pink and white dress with scratchy lace at the neck, one of two my mother had sewn for these special occasions, I would clasp my hands under my chin, the delicate points of my elbows poised lightly on the table in the manner my mother had shown me for posing for the press. I would swing my patent leather shoes back and forth like an impatient child riding on a school bus. Then I would pause, suck in my lips, twirl my chosen piece in midair as if undecided, and then firmly plant it in its new threatening place, with a triumphant smile thrown back at my opponent for good measure. I no longer played in the alley of Waverly Place. I never visited the playground where the pigeons and the old men gathered. I went to school, then directly home to learn new chess secrets, cleverly concealed advantages, more escape routes. But I found it difficult to concentrate at home. My mother had a habit of standing over me while I plotted my games. I think she thought of herself as my protective ally. Her lips would be sealed tight, and after each move I made, a soft would escape from her nose. "Ma, I can't practice when you stand there like that," I said one day. She retreated to the kitchen and made loud noises with pots and pans. When the crashing stopped, I could see out of the corner of my eye that she was standing in the doorway. Only this one came out of her tight throat. My parents made many concessions to allow me to practice. One time I complained that the bedroom I was sharing was so noisy I couldn't think. Thereafter, my brother slept in a bed in the living room facing the street. I said I couldn't finish my rice. My head didn't work right when my stomach was too full. I left the table with half-finished bowls and nobody complained. But there was one duty I couldn't avoid. I had to accompany my mother on Saturday market days when I had no tournament to play. My mother would proudly walk with me, visiting many shops, buying very little. "This my daughter, Waverly Zhang," she said to whoever looked her way. One day after we left a shop, I said under my breath, "Wish you wouldn't do that, telling everybody I'm your daughter." My mother stopped walking. Crowds of people with heavy bags pushed past us on the sidewalk, bumping into first one shoulder, then another. "Aya, so ashamed to be with mother?" She grasped my hand even tighter as she glared at me. I looked down. "Not that. It's just so obvious. It's just so embarrassing." "Embarrass you be my daughter?" Her voice was cracking with anger. "It's It's not what I meant. That's not what I said. What you say. I knew it was a mistake to say anything more, but I heard my voice speaking. Why do you have to use me to show off? If you want to show off, then why don't you learn how to play chess? My mother's eyes turned into dangerous black slits. She had no words for me, just sharp silence. I felt the wind rushing around my hot ears. I jerked my hand out of my mother's tight grasp and spun around, knocking into an old woman. Her bag of groceries spilled to the ground. "Aye, stupid girl!" my mother and the woman cried. Oranges and tin cans careened down the sidewalk. As my mother stooped to help the old woman pick up the escaping food, I took off. I raced down the street, dashing between people, not looking back as my mother screamed shrilly, "Mamie! Mamie!" I fled down an alley, past dark curtained shops and merchants watching the grime off their windows. I sped into the sunlight, into a large street crowded with tourists examining trinkets and souvenirs. I ducked into another dark alley, down another street, up another alley. I ran until it hurt, and I realized I had nowhere to go. I was not running from anything. Alleys contained no escape routes. My breath came out like angry smoke. It was cold. I sat down on an upturned plastic pail next to a stack of empty boxes, cupping my chin with my hands, thinking hard. I imagined my mother, first walking briskly down one street or another looking for me, then giving up and returning home to await my arrival. After 2 hours, I stood up on creaking legs and slowly walked home. The alley was quiet, and I could see the yellow lights shining from our flat like two tigers' eyes in the night. I climbed the 16 steps to the door, advancing quietly up each so as not to make any warning sounds. Turned the knob. The door was locked. I heard a chair moving, quick steps, the locks turning, click, 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 and then the door opened. "About time you got home," said Vincent. "Boy, are you in trouble." Slid back to the dinner table. On a platter were the remains of a large fish, its fleshy head still connected to bones swimming upstream in vain escape. Standing there, waiting for my punishment, I heard my mother speak in a dry voice. "We not concerning this girl. This girl not have concerning for us." Nobody looked at me. Bone chopsticks clinked against the inside of bowls being emptied into hungry mouths. I walked into my room, closed the door, and lay down on my bed. The room was dark, the ceiling filled with shadows from the dinner-time lights of neighboring flats. In my head, I saw a chessboard with 64 black and white squares. Opposite me was my opponent, two angry black slits. She wore a triumphant smile. "Strongest wins cannot be seen," she said. Her black men advanced across the plain, slowly marching to each successive level as a single unit. My white pieces screamed as they scurried and fell off the board one by one. As her men drew closer to my edge, I felt myself growing light. I rose up into the air and flew out the window. Higher and higher above the alley, over the tops of tiled roofs, where I gathered up by the wind and pushed up toward the night sky until everything below me disappeared and I was alone. I closed my eyes and pondered my next move.